There's a relatively simple formula for creating a point spread. They do it in Las Vegas. They do it in the global books. I do it here at my house. It's very simple. Teams A power rating, teams B power rating, factor in the home field, and there's your point spread. What the point spread does not take into account is situational spots. You get injuries in the point spread, you get recent performances in the point spread, but you don't really get the spot itself in the point spread. And that's what bettors oftentimes pay attention to. Certainly, I pay attention to it when it comes to USC and Nebraska this week. Let's talk about the Trojans and the Huskers Big Ten showdown on a Saturday in Lincoln, Saturday night in Lincoln, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific Time, national TV battle. And right now, looking at my Odds Logic live odds screen, I'm seeing USC -6 / -6.5. There is some variance on that side. Total sitting in the 59.5 range for the Trojans and the Cornhuskers. And this is an accurate point spread when it comes to USC's power rating versus Nebraska's power rating. I get it, and factor in the home field for Nebraska. But there's one thing this power rating does not, or this point spread does not take into account, and that is the struggles, the consistent struggles that USC has had every single time they're traveling east across the Rockies throughout the Lincoln Riley era. Let's talk about it, because it's been, at this stage, it's enough of a track record to really pay attention to. All right, USC 3 times last year traveled across the Rockies for a road game. They were favorites at Michigan. They lost that game in straight-up fashion. They were favorites at Minnesota. They lost that game in straight-up fashion. They were favorites at Maryland. They lost that game in straight-up fashion. Now we look at USC this year in these type of spots. And what have we seen? USC went to Purdue. Didn't cover. They won. They were 20.5-point favorites. Didn't cover the point spread there. They went to Illinois in this very same point spread range, -6.5 in that ball game. They lost that game in straight-up fashion. They went to Notre Dame, and maybe you got a half-point cover with USC if you got the best of the number. It closed 10.5. Again, the line opened like 7.5, got bet all the way up. So if you got the best of the number, you did get a half-point cover by USC. They lost the game by double digits. And again, the prevailing numbers throughout the course of the week, USC lost and failed to cover the spread again. So that, my friends, 6 trips across the Rockies for the West Coast team traveling east over the last 2 years, and not a single point spread cover for USC during that span. That's meaningful for this bettor. Before I talk about the Nebraska side of the equation, I do want to ask you guys one simple favor. If you like this type of analysis, hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Literally, we're putting out like 8 hours of content every day. They have free play videos on every sport that's going right now. You get instant alerts when your videos go live. The content is good. And again, like, comment, subscribe. We have more, close to 250,000, close to 250,000 people have subscribed to Wager Talk TV. If you haven't done so, do it now. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you. Of course, visit my homepage, www.buzz.com/TC. I had a crap weekend last weekend in football. NFL was lousy. College was lousy. That being said, we're winning right now in the NBA. We're having a great MLB postseason, and I do not expect last week's struggles to carry over moving forward. Check out the website. Again, wagertalk.com. Visit my homepage, wt.buzz.com/TC. Again, very simple to get straight to my page, wt.buzz.com/TC. Done. Thank you. So when we talk about the other side of this equation, Nebraska, I bet against Nebraska last week and was able to cash by a half a point in their non-impressive win against Northwestern. They did get the job done in that game. They faced adversity. They bounced back. They had a lead. They kind of fell asleep with the lead. They had a non-offensive touchdown, which is always good, and you like to see those type of things. And I love teams that are scoring non-offensive touchdowns this time of the year, because those defensive or special team scores end up affecting their statistical profile fairly significantly. You get a 100-yard pick six or a kick return touchdown like they had last week. Was the guy forget a kick return or punt return? But that's 100 yards that your offense doesn't get, and then your defense is back in the field. So your statistical profile doesn't look as good as it should when you're scoring non-offensive TDs, and yet you still scored a TD. It's one more confidence level, one more thing that you can do in order to say, hey, my team's good. That's a way to win games, is scoring non-offensive touchdowns, even if the statistical profile off those non-offensive TDs isn't quite as impressive. But so we bet against Nebraska last week in the favorites role, thinking that Northwestern certainly made a believer out of me in what they've done, and they gave them a game. That said, Nebraska made the plays down the stretch, battled against a tough defense, did it on special teams, got stops on offense. And I know USC is a lot better than Northwestern. That's why the point spread's two touchdowns different from what it was last week. But I don't see this Nebraska team getting slapped around. Right? They have one loss at home this year against Michigan. They lost that game by a field goal. Yeah, they had a crappy performance against Minnesota a couple weeks ago on the road in Minneapolis. It happens. You don't overreact to that. I'm not overreacting to that. And I do think the Huskers will give the Trojans a game. Live dog in this one. If I'm betting it, it'd be Nebraska or a pass. I do not want to lay this price with USC on the highway. And I would expect someone to win this game on a late field goal. One-score game. One-score game, and I'm catching nearly a touchdown. Count me in. Nebraska or pass for this better. Thanks again for watching Wager Talk TV. Best of luck with all your bets this weekend. Appreciate those likes, those comments, and those follows very, very much. Check out my homepage at wagertalk.com and have a great day. Cheers.